strategies with our host, Alan Porter. Alan, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, doing a great day. I just got back from a conference in Nashville. Top financial advisors in the United States, Tom Hagna, David McKnight, Tom Love, Van Mueller. I've had a couple of them on the podcast, and I've got several others scheduled to come on the podcast also. But these are the greats in the financial industry. And I told them I want to be up to that stage speaking with them one day. So hopefully that'll happen. But today, Neil, what I wanted to go over, people have the 401k and their qualified plans are 457, 403b, things like that. And if they think that's going to be their number one source of retirement, people are in for a rude awakening because there's many dangers in a 401k or any qualified plan. And I want to point those out to people today. Okay.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Before I even get started on that, Alan, the thing about the 401k is that you look at what the history and ask the people the right questions. For example, if we're going to be in a low market for years, like you talked about the Japanese market or different things like that, you're not going to gain it all. No. So you're basically putting money and paying fees and never gaining at all. You know what always they say, oh, it's got to be where it's going to earn above inflation. Well, it's better to have your money and earn something than not earn it all, right?
That's the number one fear. I'm much more concerned about return of my money than return on my money.
So it's just they don't think of these things. Because the bottom line is, if you say, okay, Alan, I got $500,000, I want to at least have $1 million when I'm close to retire, like 10 years later. Not, oh, by the way, you lost money.
Yeah.
That's a sickening thing, right? You could have been.
That's what happened in 2000. That's what happened in 2009, Neil. That's the lost decade from 2000 to 2009. There was a 4% drop in the market.
And we're about to see it if people don't see the history. All right, I'm ready to hear it and learn from you again, Alan.
All right, well, listen, I'm going to bring up PowerPoint. Just bear with me a second. Okay, Neil, what I want to talk about today is problems with your 401k, dangers people don't know about, or any qualified plans, such as the 403b, 457, or something like that. And this is just common sense when people understand and are educated on these types of facts. I ask people, why did they contribute to 401k? They all come back and tell me, well, Alan, it's a tax deduction. Well, understand this, 60% of people in the United States don't even pay taxes. So they're not getting any deduction. But when I said, no, it's not a deduction, it's a tax compounder. We're in the lowest tax brackets we've ever been in 70 years. And we got a $31 trillion deficit. And if you think taxes aren't going up, then I got another thing coming for you. And this is huge. How much are your fees in a 401k? Now, this is a study, I think about lattimes.com, but it was published in Forbes magazine. The average fee for a 401k is 2.88 across the United States.
Oh my goodness.
Now understand this, Neil. That's not the bad part. The bad part is a 1% fee over a 30-year period will reduce your income by 1/3. That's devastating. I mean, a lot of these people in 401ks, they're going to lose more than half of their portfolio just in fees. And until a couple of years ago, they didn't have to disclose all the fees. And like one guy said, he said, how am I going to find the fees in this prospectus? It's like 50 pages long.
You're not going to, yeah.
Do you even know what you're investing in? I would say 99% of the people out there that have 401ks have no idea what they're investing in. You have this plethora of mutual funds and whatever, and they'll ask you, are you aggressive, are you moderate, or are you conservative in your investment portfolio? Well, a lot of people just put money in a stock portfolio in a 401k, and they forget about it. And when it comes time to retirement, if they're in risky assets, they got a huge problem.
Totally.
Has your financial advisor ever told you about the sequence returns risk? And if he hasn't, why not? Well, sequence returns risk, we've gone over this before, Neil. If you have a loss in the first 3 years, when you go to retire, as compared to the last 3 years in your retirement of a 10-year retirement period, your retirement is going to be decimated. You're probably
Totally.
out of money by the seventh, eighth year. And the reason being is you're taking money out of a depleting asset and you're not putting anything back in to make a gain. And when the market goes down, like it's going down now, that's going to devastate people that rely on a 401k for their retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And the average, understand this, the average amount of the 401k across the United States is only $135,000.
It's
How
crazy.
long do you think that's going to last?
Not
If
last
they stretch
long.
it out, maybe 2 years. And that's before taxes.
Now, an employee contributed, that's considered a 401k, correct?
Correct.
Mhm.
Do you have enough money in your retirement plan to protect you from the number one risk in retirement is running out of money before you run out of life? This keeps people up at night. You know, I can show people how to have guaranteed income for the rest of their life. But think about that. You're laying in bed and talking to your spouse, and we're in a stock portfolio, and that's all we've got in our retirement. The market's gone down 20%.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we're 75 years old, and we just lost more money in the market. We can't take the distribution we were before, and now we got 8 to 15% inflation. What are we going to do?
Right.
Well, they don't want to live with their kids, I'll tell you that. Did you know that you can insure your retirement? You can insure your house, you can insure your car. I can show you how to insure your retirement. Have you considered the exorbitant cost of long-term care insurance? Now, Neil, understand this. I've had people tell me all the time, I'm never going to need long-term care.
Is that crazy? If they're going to
It
live
is.
another 10 to 15 years, Alan, and they never know when that injury or certain thing could happen to them?
No. But here's the thing, 70% of all Americans are going to need long-term care at some point in their life. And as I told you before, my brother is 5 years older than me, 75. He lives back in Nebraska. I had to go back and put him in a nursing home this spring. And that's the hardest thing you'll ever do is putting a loved one in a nursing home. The state patrol called his daughter up one night, said, you need to pick your father up. He's disordered, doesn't know what he's doing. They caught him going down the interstate in the wrong direction. Now he's lucky he didn't kill himself or kill a family, but you know, he doesn't even know what he's doing.
Totally not.
And it's just devastating. Long-term care right now costs between $50,000 to $200,000 a year, and it goes up by 6% every year.
Crazy.
Where are people going to get the money to pay for long-term care?
They're not going to.
Long-term care insurance. Well, let me tell you that's very expensive. And let's say you buy it at 60 and you die in your sleep at 75. Well, you pay tens of thousands of dollars for absolutely nothing. It's like all insurance is good, I understand that. But it's just like term insurance. If you live one day past life expectancy and you have a term insurance policy, there's no cash value. And if you buy that up to life expectancy, you're going to have the same amount of money in a cash value life insurance plan that's going to give you guaranteed income for life and a death benefit of millions of dollars probably. And you'll have nothing in a term life insurance policy. But we've gone over this before in a different podcast. This is something that worries people all the time. Do you want your child to have to care for you in your old age? Well, I sure don't. My wife doesn't. We kid our granddaughters about, you're going to take care of us when we get old. And I look at her, I said, you're not going to take care of me, okay? People don't want their family to take care of in their old age.
No.
Would you rather live in your home or a nursing home if you do need long-term care? Well, I can tell you for a fact, my brother hates living in a nursing home.
Oh, it's
He'd
bad.
much rather live in his own home and have tax-free cash available to him to pay for long-term care in his own home. I can show
What's
people
really
how to do
interesting?
that.
What I want to talk about, Alan, is this the other thing they talked about? We're talking about long-term care, which is such an important subject, and I've talked about it on Growing Older with Enthusiasm and other podcasts and radio shows on my network. Is I'm so glad that this show's on my network. The thing I found, Alan, this is really scary, is the fact that people are going to live longer, and the government's not looking into that. They're not understanding people are going to live 90, 95, 100, 105, 110.
Right.
And are you going to live on a wet respirator, or are you going to live a healthy life? So you have to think about your lifestyle, but you also have to think about how many more years you're going to need the money for. And they're not planning that.
Well, one thing I learned when I was down in Nashville, the life expectancy for the generation now has been reduced. But the people that are 65 and older understand this. If you're married at age 65, there's a 50% chance of you living past the 90, and there's a 25% of you living past 95. Because that's a fact, and that's not going down. But because of COVID, the new ones, life expectancy tables have gone down for the younger generation.
That's crazy. And see, Alan, I would just say that that's called the skew thing by the government, that ultimately people are going to live longer. And especially if you're married and also have family, grandkids, different things like that, and you want to be like the blue zone, and this is your goal to live a longer life and not die in a nursing home, you have to really plan your retirement to have the money and the money to live on and have fun, not just go and say, I'm just going to be on a budget. And you plan that. Yeah.
It's like Tom Hagner says, the first years are your go-go years. You want to take trips, you want to play golf, you want to do this, you take your grandkids on trips. The next years after that are your slow-go years, where you slow down, you can't do as much. And then the worst part is the no-go years. You can't even get around because you can't walk hardly, you're in a wheelchair or something like that, or you're in long-term care. People need a plan. If you don't have a plan, make one. But if you do have a plan, improve on it. This is very important. Do your retirement funds cause further taxation of your Social Security? People don't even think about this. They're not told. Short Reader's Digest version. If you're married at age 65 and make $44,000 a year of outside provisional income, and you make $3,000 a month in Social Security, 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxed. Now, right now, like I said, we're in the lowest tax brackets. If they don't go up, you're in the 12% minimum tax bracket. We have a progressive tax system. So your effective tax rate is like 10.15 or 16 or something like that. But you write a check to Uncle Sam for over $6,000 every year, provided taxes don't go up. What about the means testing for Medicare Part B? Nobody talks about this.
So my question is, if you're using a different type of retirement fund as you're teaching, that's not taxable. That doesn't count towards your income. Is that correct?
Say that again, Neil?
Alan, does that count against your income if you do have annuities or certain things that are not?
It depends on how you have them set up. Now, cash value life insurance does. It does not account for taxation against Social Security. Your Roth products, your Roth IRA, Roth 401k, and that's where the annuities are set up in a Roth product. And they will not account for taxation of Social Security or the means testing Medicare Part B. But understand this. I'm retired military. When I turned 65, I had to file for Medicare. I have TRICARE for life, which is supposed to take care of all my medical bills. Well, because it's adjusted, it's based off the adjusted gross income. Neil, I got to pay $6,000 a year for my Medicare Part B.
Oh.
I wasn't planning on that.
So wouldn't it be better just to have your own insurance? It sounds like it. Medicare really doesn't pay at all. Oh man.
It's I mean, it's a plan, but I mean, it's just like I'm a retired military. I was supposed to be guaranteed that.
Mm-hmm.
They change things all the time. The government changed things all the time. And we got over 32 or 33 trillion dollars in retirement assets. And the government just cannot wait to get a hold of those assets and tax them. And what are they going to do? They're going to tax them at a higher rate and get more money from them. And here's the big thing. Well, I'm in the market. The market's doing great, blah, blah, blah. Even with this little loss we've had, the market's doing great. I said, okay. And you're not worried about market risk. I explained sequence returns risk to them. And then I talked to them about I call it the stock market desert. As we've discussed before, there's one of the most affluent, successful countries in the world that hasn't recovered in over 33 years from their stock market crash, and that's Japan. And we discussed this in 2000 to 2009. That's the lost decade in the United States. The market lost 4%. And these market deserts can last anywhere 5, 10, 15, 20 years. If you're retirement or coming close to retirement, are you prepared for what's going to happen to your retirement during that time period? Well, I can show you how to protect yourself from that.
Okay. I like that, Alan. That's cool.
She does a good job. Do you know that you can protect yourself from market risk and many other risks? Now, Neil, I can think about 18 risks in retirement right off the top of my head. But my financial strategies, process, and products, I can show people how to protect themselves from many of these risks that you have if you have a stock portfolio. And it's not that I hate stock market. I mean, everybody needs to be invested in some way. But this 60-40 split between stocks and bonds, that's out the window.
Big time.
You need to reallocate your assets. But I can protect people from many of the risks in retirement. And as I said, just like guaranteed income, it's been proven by Harvard study, if you have guaranteed income in retirement, you live a less stressful, longer life because you don't have all the stress and worry about the ups and downs in the market. Do you think taxes are going up or down? We discussed this with that $31 trillion deficit.
Up.
And understand this. We discussed this before. Congressional Budget Office report, by 2030, they expect taxes to go up by 60 to 66% across the board. Are you prepared?
Yeah.
Them people aren't. They have no idea about it. And here's the question. I ask people, if taxes do go up, do you want to pay those taxes?
No.
Absolutely. Did you know that you can protect yourself from the taxation of your retirement plans? That's just one of the things I do. How much do you need to gain in the market after 50% loss? We've discussed this before. Do you realize you have to have 100% gain in the market after 50% loss just to get back to even?
So explain 100% gain for people that don't understand these numbers, Alan.
What's that?
What would be 100% gain after having?
Well, let's say that you've got $100,000.
Okay.
And you had 100% gain the first year. That's $200,000. Okay. The next year, you have a 50% loss. You're back down to 100,000. The next year, you have 100% gain. You're back up to 200,000. But then last year, you have a 50% loss. You're back to 100. Now you average those out, like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. What's your average rate of return you need to get? It's not average, it's actual. Because you average those out, that's 25% gain, average gain, but your actual return is zero.
And what do you need to get 100% gain? How many of those come out, Alan? Where you gain 100%?
In some cases. But I mean, let's like you got in 2008, some had a 50% loss. Let's say it was $50,000 and it had a 50% loss. So now you're down to 50,000. Okay, understand this. You need to get 100% gain in that 50,000 just to get back to the 100,000 that you were. Because if you only had a 50% gain, you'd only gain 25,000. It'd be 75,000. You're still $25,000 below what you were before.
You know what, Alan? You understand this so much. My question to you: can you give me an example of a 50% gain and 100% loss? What that means in the market based on your a stock portfolio?
Okay, well, just like I said, let's say that you have $100,000. Okay, you got a 50% loss. It goes down to $50,000. The next year you have a 50% gain. It's only going back to 75,000 because 50% of 50,000 is 25,000, correct?
Right. Yes.
So you need a gain of 100% on $50,000 to get you back to the $100,000 that you started out.
Wow. And that doesn't happen much. We're usually looking at 8% gains, 10% gains, right? That's the usual numbers.
Well, that's a pie in the sky. Usually we work, many people be happy with a 6% net of taxes, net of fees for the gain.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, there's times when the market's done great, but between the fees and the taxes, because the 401k is not taxed on long-term or short-term capital gains, they're taxed at ordinary income. As I've said before, do you have enough time to recover from a stock market loss when you're getting close to retirement? And people need to think about this is one of the most serious conversations that people need to have between themselves, especially if they've got the majority of their money in a stock portfolio and they're counting on that for retirement. And our world right now is headed into some very tough times.
In a couple months too.
Yeah. Were you aware? Now, this is a big one. This is absolutely huge. Were you aware that you only need 2/3 of the money in the stock portfolio in the products that I recommend to give you the same distribution rate? at a 4% distribution rate of that stock portfolio. As an example, you got $1 million stock portfolio, 4% distribution rate. They said that used to be a great distribution rate, be safe till age 90. Well, I plan till age 120. That 4% distribution rate has a 25 to 35% chance of failure. Now the safe distribution rate is 2.8%. That's only $28,000. But let's say it's 4%. That's $40,000 a year, correct?
Yeah.
You'd only need $650,000 in this insurance product that I promote to give you the same $40,000 a year, and that's guaranteed for life. And if it's a 3% distribution rate out of that $1 million, you'd only need $500,000 in this insurance product. And this was a killer because I did this on a video before. Let's say that you have $1 million stock portfolio and you have a 6% return net of fees over a 5-year period. Never lost, it's guaranteed compounding. Now that stock portfolio is going to be worth about $1.388 million and some dollars, $1,388,000 and some dollars. At a 4% distribution rate, it's $53,000, $57,000, something like that. If you had that same insurance product that I promote with no gains in the indexing strategies, only the guarantees of the insurance company, you'll have guaranteed income of $81,989 a year for the rest of your life. And that can be guaranteed for your spouse also. It's going to be a little bit less because you're guaranteed 2 lives, but that's guaranteed. And you can't outlive guarantees. People have no idea about this.
No.
Are you aware of the possibility of having guaranteed income? Like I said, I show people how to have guaranteed income in a retirement so they don't have to worry about the ups and downs of the market. Here's something else. I have people call me. What's the rate of return? Understand, it's not the rate of return when you're in retirement. It's about distribution of assets. They ask me, do you realize it's not about the rate of return in retirement, but the distribution of assets? And the other thing, the older you get, the higher the distribution rate. A stock portfolio cannot do that. And people say, I said, you want a higher rate of return? Live longer. Big one here. Does your financial advisor make a fee on your portfolio, whether you make money or not? If this is true, are they looking out for your best interest or the best interest of themselves or their company? Aren't they supposed to act in the best interest of the clients if they call themselves fiduciaries? Now, understand, Neil, I used to do assets under management, but I got a conflict of interest. I don't do it anymore because I don't believe in charging people a fee, whether I manage money for them and they make money or not. There's other people, that's fine. But I don't do that. I have a team of people that will do that. My business, I treat just like a doctor. I'll ask question after question. I want those questions answered. I need to know what's the hearts and minds, what people want to accomplish in their life. And I have a team of people that I count on, top CPAs, tax-specific attorneys, and other specialists in their fields to give the client the best possible financial scenario for their retirement. You know, one of the things I tell people, I said, let me say I'm your doctor, Neil, and I come to you and I tell you need knee surgery. Are you going to want me to do it or an orthopedic surgeon?
Orthopedic surgeon, for sure.
Obviously, because he's a specialist, correct? Well, that's what I have in my team. I have a team of specialists that I collaborate with, and we come up with solutions for people's financial problems.
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand this. There are many questions out there that I ask my clients. Like I said, if those questions I ask aren't answered, I would come up with some feasibility study or some financial plan. It would be malpractice as far as I'm concerned. Here's a thought that I always tell people. If you had always thought that something was true and it turned out not to be true, when would you want to hear about it? Well, obviously immediately. Let me ask people out there, if you have questions, if you have any questions about this or have been bothered by anything that I said and you need an answer, I want you to think outside the box, okay? Think outside the box of conventional financial planning and contact me. Here's my contact information. 910-551-1046. I'll just leave this up there. People can write it down. And my email is strategicwealth0@gmail.com. Neil, I'll just leave this up for a minute as we continue to talk. But I mean, this is so important for people in retirement, and they do not understand the dangers.
Totally.
But Neil, that's basically all I've got for today.
Yeah, it's great stuff, Alan. And the thing it's reason it's great stuff is because you're giving an alternative for retirement. And then one that not many people are talking about, and it's guaranteed income for life. Because you don't want to have your parents, I mean your kids helping you out at the end. You want to have the money, and you want, if it's guaranteed income for life and you outlive people, you're in better shape, right, Alan, than having a certain amount of money because they'll keep paying you. So
Exactly right.
so you can, if you follow Alan Porter's plan and live a long, long life, it's gonna work out for you big time, isn't it?
Exactly right, man.
And what are the insurance companies going to do when someone lives to 105 and it's
You still
guaranteed
got,
income for life? They can't stop you, can they?
nope, it's guaranteed. And understand, insurance companies are the highest regulated industry in the world today, bar none. For them to write an insurance policy on you, Neil, for $100,000, they have to have $100,000 in their general account plus an 8% surplus. The companies I work with have over 100% surplus. And a bank. This lady was telling me, they're sitting next to me at the plane going from Nashville to Atlanta. Well, we only need to have about 10 to 12% to issue 100,000. Think about that. Let's put it in millions of dollars. They only need to have $10 million to issue $100 million in loans. How many of those loans do you think are going to go bad?
A ton for
That's
sure.
why over 500 banks and thousands of stock companies have gone under and went bankrupt because they're over leveraged.
So you know what's doing, Alan. We appreciate it. Again. Call Alan anytime, 910-551-1046 or strategicwealth, the number 0 @gmail.com. Appreciate it, Alan.
Okay. See you
All right.
later.
That was Strategic Wealth Strategies, guys. Take care.